in the vibrant heart of South Africa, where stories are etched into the very soil, Charles Moyo has carved a name for himself. Rising from humble beginnings, Charles has journeyed through the realms of videography, photography, and graphic design, earning accolades and recognition along the way. But his true genius, storytelling. With awards under his belt and collaborations with renowned brands, Charles channels a touch of divine energy into every act of creation. Each click of his camera isn't just about capturing an image, it's seizing raw emotion, a fleeting moment, a profound narrative. Today, we're privileged to dive deep into a conversation with this luminary. We'll explore his journey, his challenges, and the passion that drives him. Prepare to be inspired by a man who believes that every creation tells a tale, that every tale has a purpose.
First of all, thank you for coming to this show. It's a show that is at the very beginning. I've done many podcast attempts, let's call them, before, but it's not always successful, especially when you don't have a reason, a bigger reason than just you. And I think this time I have a better reason, I should say. The goal of this podcast is to inspire creators by listening to other creators and how they're doing their craft and what they're learning and what's their drive and passion. And so today I have you, Charles, because I believe you are an exceptional creator, one that I have learned a lot from and continue to. And so I'd just like to welcome you to the show or the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. I've been looking forward to like having a chat with you for a while, ever since we first connected. So I'm very glad that this has finally happened. We're in two very different time zones.
We are.
And fortunately enough, I am a very late sleeper. So you said on your side, it's what, 3 p.m. roughly then?
Yeah,
this
it's
side
3 p.m.
midnight.
Yeah.
But I'm perfectly fine and I'm perfectly ready for this conversation.
Are you sober?
I am very, very sober.
That's very good. Now, one of the things about Charles, so you are actually right now in South Africa, right?
True.
And how long have you been in South Africa?
Man, I've been in South Africa for 16 years. This is
16?
my 16th year here. Yeah.
Wow. Were you born there or something?
Nah. Came here when I was 8 years old.
8, wow.
So honestly, it's like 2/3 of my life have been this.
Yeah.
Majority has been in South Africa.
That's really amazing. And, you know, South Africans tend to produce many creators, it seems. But yeah, so today I want to ask you about you and not about South Africa. Maybe we'll have another separate chat about South Africa, but you are a man of many talents and many hats. You are a videographer, you are a photographer, and you've also done some graphic design. What inspired you, or what led to all these things? Like why graphic design? Why video? Why photography?
So it all started off with, I'd say, photography.
Mm-hmm.
In my family, there's always been a camera around. My father My father started off as a photographer, right?
Oh,
so there was
wow.
always some form of a camera in the house. And I guess that kind of had me interested. I was never really into it, but if a camera is around, I'm usually playing with it because of interest.
Yeah.
In 2017, my father came back home with like the first DSLR, the one that I started using. And from then I was just like, okay, I'm going to use this and see where it takes me.
Yeah.
So I was also studying at that time, and I used to take the camera with me to campus. Then it got attention there. People were like enjoying taking pictures and all that. Then from there, I also got the interest for videos. but the camera that I used wasn't the greatest for videos. But, I used my phone, I did what I could, or I borrowed other people's cameras. And then that's when that came through. Then getting into graphic design, if I remember correctly, when I was studying, we needed to make posters.
Okay.
So I'm someone who loves to do things and
With
figure
your
it out
hands.
as I'm doing it, So with graphic design, I was like, I'm here now. I might as well learn how to do it. And I really enjoyed it. So it was one of those things where I'm like, there's people teaching it online. And yeah, now those three, I guess, fields of creativity are what I'm into.
That's very interesting, and it's usually similar story when I listen to other creators. It's always that camera in the background that they see, and then they get that interest. But then I'm curious. You are many things, but if you could say one thing that makes you who you are, what could that be? Like, how should people call you? What are you?
It's so fascinating that you bring up that question, because it's something that it's been ringing in my head all day.
Wow.
That I could be called a photographer, I could be called a videographer, I could be called a graphic designer. But I've reached a point where I don't really want to be called any of those. I want to consider myself as a storyteller. And in whatever form that is, if it's photography, I want to tell a story, video, telling a story, graphic design, telling a story.
But then why would you do that? It sounds to the audience, it sounds like maybe it's so basic, like from photographer to storyteller. Why are you diminishing yourself?
What I've enjoyed most I'd say out of all three, photography is like the main thing that I do.
Yeah.
And the part of photography, or like the time that I enjoyed photography the most, was when there was some narrative behind it. Like when I had a shoot with my sister. And we went out to the Botanic Gardens, and it was a day where I wasn't feeling the greatest. I didn't even go to church that day, so we went to the park and I started taking pictures. The pictures are nice, and I posted the pictures and they're nice, but it was the story behind them that really made it special for me. I've started like sharing my old pictures again, even the ones that are like taken on my phone or basic pictures, and telling the story behind that picture. A picture is just like a split second that's paused,
Right.
But there's so much more that happens outside of that. And that's why I feel like I'm big into this storytelling thing. And storytelling comes in so many different forms. And
wow,
I've been enjoying that. Yeah.
Honestly, I really love what you just said there. Storytelling, it's so deep and fundamental. I've been learning that, at the end of it, all you need is a story. The reason why YouTube videos go viral is because there's a story behind them. The movie is amazing because it's a story. And so at a fundamental level, even as I think of creation in general, I think creation is about a story. Every creator wants to tell a story through their creation. And so if you can figure out your story, then your creation will be amazing. You have that clarity and direction.
And people will be behind it.
Yeah, because ultimately creation is not for the sake of creation, right? You create for the sake of, solving a problem and also connecting with people. So I believe, and I like to say this a lot, that we were created to create, right? But more than that, we were created to connect. True. Because what does it mean if you create so much and you can't really enjoy whatever you've created with someone else?
You just enjoy it by yourself. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Okay, so you are a storyteller.
Yes. Yes.
That's really amazing to really arrive at that conclusion that now Charles is a storyteller. It's like breaking news. Charles is a storyteller.
You hearing it first, man. This was something that I went through the entire day today. And at the end of the day, I can officially say that Charles is a storyteller.
Yeah. I really believe that, stories are powerful, and we all have stories to tell, but we should not limit ourselves to the medium of telling the story. The story is what is the main ingredient, So it could be photography, it could be videography, it could be animation, it could be another thing we don't even know about yet. But as long as you have that story concept, that's really powerful. So now that we know who you are, what is a common myth about your job or field of expertise, which is storytelling?
Oh, wow. A common myth about...
Or you could spin it towards photography, videography, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
I think, okay, the most common myth that I've come across is that it's easy. Okay.
Oh.
My favorite photographer, and maybe someone who's inspired me a lot in this, is this Canadian photographer. Maybe you've heard of him, Peter McKinnon.
I have.
Yeah.
I watch him a lot.
Yes, him. So he recently put out a video where he was talking about this thing of the difference between taking a photo and making a photo.
Oh, I love that trailer. It's powerful.
Right? And I thought to myself that it's very easy to take a photo, right? And he says in his video, it's very easy to take a photo. Anyone can take a photo. But to make a photo is what sets you apart, what makes things special.
Wow.
Because when you make a photo, I feel like that's where you can really incorporate that there's a story behind it.
There's a story.
In making a photo, it has a meaning behind it. Like we all take pictures.
Yeah.
At an event, we would just shoot a bunch of pictures because you want to capture the moment for later.
Yeah.
But they can be one specific image that you're looking for, because it will either bring up some sort of emotion, or it will capture a memory, or it has just so much meaning to it. So the myth is that it's easy, and it is and it isn't at the same time.
Wow.
Yes, you can take a picture, but you can't really just make a picture just like that.
Wow. That's really deep. So taking a picture and making a picture. So the misconception is that it's easy, you can just take a picture, but it's more than taking a picture. And so I wonder that then, are you saying that perhaps you're not just a storyteller then, that you are, how am I going to say this? You are a story maker, a story creator. So you create stories. You don't just tell them, right? You create stories. You make things. You create things, right?
I do think, I can agree with you that, in my craft, I do try and be very intentional in what I do. So story making, I like.
So
that.
you craft the narrative yourself. It reminds me of God in the beginning, and you guys don't be surprised when I keep referencing to God, because this is about us creating like God does, right? So God in the beginning says, the Bible says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, and then He says, "Let there be light," and there was light. And at our first glance, it looks like there's no story, it's boring. But when you take a closer look, God is telling a story, right? A story of how there seems to be a war between, darkness and light. Everything is chaotic. And then He brings that order, that life, that story, that narrative. Let there be light. Let there be this. Let there be that. So I think as creators, we also have that same power to create stories. Life is what we make it to be. So every day we're actually not just telling stories, we are making the narrative of who we are and what we want to be. So we are all story makers. We're not just storytellers, but we actually making them. But then your craft is to be intentional about it and then craft a particular narrative and tell a particular story. And stories is what move masses, like for you to convince someone, you have to have a story to tell them.
Convincing story, yeah.
Yeah, so you need that story in every area of life.
And maybe bouncing off of what you're saying, like what you're saying, that life is what you make it. And me mentioning being intentional, I feel like it's something that I try so much with how I live my life and my day, that I put so much effort into like my craft, into photos, videos, and all that.
Yeah.
And I try to make stories through that. But the same can be applied into my life, that my life is its own story. Every day is its own story. Like they say that the perfect story has like an introduction, it has a conflict and a resolution, you know?
Yeah.
So you have your morning, how you wake up, how you introduced into your day. Then throughout the day, you have all of these conflicts that you have, and each one has its resolution. And the way you end off your day is its own grand resolution.
That's
So
so
I've
good.
been trying to start off the day with like intentional, started with God, you know, and spend time with Him, help Him order your day.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
try to journal, get things written down, see what I need for the day. Throughout the day, things happen, and find a way to deal with things. And then at the end of the day, finish off with a specific routine, like maybe a brain dump of the things that have happened, something you're grateful for. So
Yeah.
I feel like even in a day has its own story.
Oh, yeah. A day has its own story. This is getting deeper already, guys. Like, we're already going deep at the very beginning. And so with that spirit, I just want to catch the spirit and keep going deeper, right? So this story concept keeps coming up, and I really love what we're doing here. It's really nice. I hope you guys are enjoying. Those of you watching or listening, let us know, what are your thoughts. What do you think about story as the main ingredient of creativity? So God creates, and in the beginning, He says, "Let there be light, vegetation, etc., etc." But when it comes to the crowning work of His creation, He doesn't speak to the land or to the nothingness or to the tables. He speaks to Himself. And that's so deep, because now you see that element of story, that after all, this thing wasn't about just stuff being here. It was about God wanting to tell a story of who He is. And therefore, He creates someone in His image to reflect who He is, to tell His story. And so I see that with us as creators too, that whatever we are doing, we're always trying to tell a story about who we are. Because by default, whatever thing you create will have an impression of who you are, you know? When you have an iPhone, right? An iPhone is not just an iPhone. Yes, it's a product, but it tells a story. A story of Steve Jobs, the story of the team.
It's a reflection of that whole team.
And who they are, what they represent, the story they tell, which is quality, which is excellence, and all these things. So I find that to be interesting, that story still seems to be the foundation of creation. And that's interesting, I think.
With me, like what you're saying, that it's such a reflection of the creator. Like every creation is a reflection of the creator.
That's it.
I don't like comparing, and I never want to compare my work with someone else.
That's so good.
But you can see what matters to a person through what they've created and what they give you. Like if I look at two images, with a horizon, like a straight horizon, I will tell just how nitpicky and how much attention a creator takes into their photo by how straight the horizon is.
Okay.
Are you willing to take time to just straighten the horizon? Because small things like that, like for me, I have to make sure, like the smallest details that someone won't even look at, I have to take care of that, you know? So those are like the little things for myself. And then I look back at God and I'm like, God spoke in the Godhead, and He's like, you know what? We're going to create man, okay? And we're going to form him out of this creation, out of everything that has happened in these 6 days. And we'll form this figure.
Wow.
And then we'll put our spirit into this figure.
Right.
And then when this presence called man comes to life, it's going to be basically a physical manifestation
Yeah.
of who God is and
Wow.
reflect who this Godhead is.
Wow.
Down to the littlest detail, the hairs on the head, all
Mm.
of that had a reason
Oh
to
yeah.
be there. And I feel like I feel like humanity has forgotten just how precious we
Mm.
are and what like our purpose is. Like there's dogs that we look at, there's animals that we look at, and we feel like these animals are so complex. But those
Mm.
animals, God just spoke and they came to life.
Wow.
He didn't even put his
Wow.
hands into
Wow.
forming an animal. But with us, what's such a bigger deal than that?
Wow. This is good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You know, I'm tempted to ask you another deeper question, or to come back to the shallow waters. I'm
Mhm.
debating what I should do. Maybe let's just go deeper, right? So maybe you're not prepared for this, and I understand, but I'll still ask because that's my job. I ask questions. So creation is about telling a story of who you are, etc.
Mm.
Then, Charles, I'm curious, in one sentence or two, what is your story?
Oh, wow.
What
Okay.
are you trying to tell?
Um, okay. I think my story has changed a lot over
Okay.
the years, and my story right now is trying to be unapologetically Christian.
Mm.
That's CJ's story right now. Someone who's trying to put all of his eggs into God's basket.
Wow.
Um,
Mm.
with my
Yeah.
media started off with me just being interested in a camera
Okay.
and making content. And I enjoyed it. Graphic
Okay.
design, enjoyed making posters, logos, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I tried it out for God,
Mhm.
creating art for God.
Wow.
And it was satisfying. So
Wow.
I then tried to do everything, have everything that I do
Mhm.
point towards God.
Wow.
And right now that's like who I am. My story is I'm God's child.
Okay.
My bio, I think it's on TikTok, is
Uh-huh.
a child of God with a camera. That's my story.
Ooh,
Child
a
of God with a
child of
camera.
God with the camera. That's so good. So are you recording God, or like what are you doing? Like what I'm hearing
Hmm.
is my story is to tell the story of who God is what I'm hearing.
I think so. It can be that, or also capturing the story of just how good God can be if you leave everything in his hands. If you
Okay.
take
I see what you
everything
mean.
that's yours and you put it in his hands. Funny enough, I don't know if that was today's devotional or the one that I'm posting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Psalms 37 verse 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's the one that says, delight yourself in the Lord
Uh-huh.
and he will give you the desires of your heart. Something
That
like that.
sounds
I'm wondering,
biblical.
yeah,
Sounds familiar.
I'm not too sure which verse it is, but I know I recorded it. And
Wow.
I think that's exactly what I am going through, that I have these delights that I
Mm.
had that were worldly per se,
Mm.
and I've decided to delight them in God. Enjoy photography in God. Graphic design in God. And he
Mm.
has changed my desires, and he has changed the things that I enjoy into things that he enjoys as well. And now what the desires of God's heart
Mhm.
are somewhat the desires of my heart now. And it's
Yeah.
nice being there. I mean, I still get a lot of things wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But when, those little glimpses into just how good God can be are they warm the heart, man.
They sure do. They sure do. Wow, this is amazing. So what we've realized in your journey is that, I'm not just a creator, right? But I'm a creator that was created, and that I
Mm,
was created for a purpose. And I understand the specifics of your story, but the underlying major story is reflecting who God is. Because
Yeah.
I believe that all creators really, in everything that we do, we are simply trying to imitate God, you know? And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to gift you with something I've been working on. And also maybe have this opportunity to introduce this to the public as well, or to the audience. So I've been working on this little book. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yes.
Where is it? Come on. Okay, so this is how to create like God does, right? And the subtitle says God's Success Blueprint for All Creators, Companies, and Churches. And what I do in the book is I pretty much go through the Genesis narrative, not everything, but like the main principles. And I outline how we were created to create and how we can never be satisfied if we don't create. And how for us to create successfully, we need to use God's principles. And so I outline about 16 principles that you can use to enhance your creative process. Whether you are a videographer, a photographer, an animator, whatever type of creation you do, a musician, YouTuber, you name it. There's so many out there, so many. It's unreal. But whatever it is, God has principles of how creation should take place. And I think one of the most fundamental principles that really I never even touched upon in this book is the principle of story, really. The principle of telling a story. And it's mind-blowing. Anyways, so I will send this to you. However way I will do that, we'll find a way. But that's a gift for you because I think you are vibrating at the same frequency with the book, so I might as well just give it
thank
to
you so much, man.
Yeah,
Because I was so interested in that book. I've been like, I saw you promoting it, and like in the building up process, I was like, I don't know how, I don't know when I will get it, but I have
somehow
to look eventually. Yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be amazing. And of course, for you guys who are watching and listening, you can get it on my website. It's neothegreatest.com. That's NIYO, thegreatest.com. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not the one who's the greatest. It means God is the greatest. God is the greatest. That's a literal translation of my last name, actually. Neo Mugabo. It means God is the greatest. And then,
That's
of course, praise God. Thank my parents for creating that story. And I have a thing with YouTube membership as well. So I know most people are too lazy to read. No offense, guys. I'm also lazy to read. So I've
storytelling that don't like reading.
Okay, so maybe I will send you the audiobook then, because that's the other option I have. Audiobook recorded by yours truly. Nice. And then also I'm working on a video book because some people don't even want to listen to anything. And the idea of a video book is where you watch the book like a YouTube video, pretty much. And then I have graphics or illustrations, because people are too lazy. I don't know what to do with this generation.
By TikTok, man. TikTok
too much. Now we can't even write books because nobody's going to read them. What is this? But anyway, so Charles, you have a business, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of the business again? Just CJ Media.
Yeah, CJ Moyo Media. Yeah.
CJ Moyo Media. Okay, so, running a business is one of those interesting things. You realize that creativity does not equate to, let's say, business acumen, that these are two separate fields. How do you navigate that? What are your thoughts on that?
The way I've worked currently is I took a bit of a break from creating for a while.
Sure.
Because I reached a point where I had become too business minded. And I was moving away from creativity, even in my photography.
Wow.
When I started off with photography, I loved creating and putting out images and experimenting, figuring things out.
Yeah.
Then I got a bit of money And suddenly that's where my focus was, getting the next client, getting money. And I lost the love for things. So I've taken a stop on that. And now I'm back into it.
Okay.
Finding a new passion in creating. And the business, I want the business to follow the passion, but not the passion following the business, you know?
That's
so
powerful.
In creating, like in posting pictures now on Instagram, it's not for the sake of likes. I want the likes that come through to be genuine likes for the content that I put out. I don't want to put out likes. I don't want to put out posts for likes.
Yeah.
In the same way, when I make stuff like the clothing that I design, or when I put out prints or graphic design, I'm not publishing those things for customers. I want customers to come because of what I've published.
That's very good. I really love that, because business can corrupt creativity, right?
And it can be so heartbreaking when you put your heart and you put in sleepless nights into designing something, and it doesn't even get any attention,
that's powerful. It reminds me of the principle in the book that I highlight. It's a principle of feedback, and the way I write it is not feedback like feedback, but I write feedback, like feeding back on something. And God is one of the fearless creators that I know. He creates stuff, right? And then he doesn't ask for validation.
He doesn't.
He doesn't seek validation. After he creates light, he doesn't ask the angels, "What do you guys think? Is that good enough?" No, but he has the confidence and the genuineness to say, "It is good.
It is good." Yep.
It is good.
He knows. He knows he's good at what he's doing.
He knows, and then also he also has the transparency to say it's not good. Because when he creates man, he's like, "Wait a moment, it's not good for man to be alone." So you need that, feedback as a creator, but it's really, really powerful. And I love that you don't create for likes and for, views and all that. It corrupts your creativity.
And I finally found that passion that I had again when I started off, because I'm not doing it for likes anymore. I'm not doing it for attention, but I'm doing it to give something, to put it out there. And what I put out, I want the stuff that I share to be my standards, the quality that I am happy with.
Yes.
And then people who appreciate that, well, however small the niche is, those are the people that deserve my work.
This is good. I love it. So then, what would be your one piece of advice, to someone starting out in your career?
I think the one piece of advice that I'd give is take inspiration, right? Get your inspiration from wherever you are. Like you see something you like, try and emulate it as much as you can so that you can learn how to do things. And then once you've learned how to do things, use those skills to match who you are. Use those skills to push who you are forward. Like Peter McKinnon that we spoke about. His photography was lovely, is lovely, and I love all of his work. And one thing that I loved about his work is in one of his videos, he said he loves little people and big places, right?
Ooh.
And I love working with people, and at the same time, I love nature. So in my art, I try to show that relationship between where man is and their surroundings.
I've seen that.
If you see where I am right now, I had to have a background that kind of shows.
I can see that.
It's pretty much, it's a representation of who I am.
This is good.
Memories up there. I have something pointing to God, a photo book at the back, plants,
I see the story.
all of that, So person and place is like a big thing for me. So my advice is go follow get inspiration from people who align with who you are. Then once you've gotten your inspiration, feed yourself with that inspiration and create.
That's good. Now, the next question I have is, who is your most important professional mentor? And I guess you keep mentioning Peter McKinnon. I wonder if you could consider him as a mentor, or if you have somebody else that has mentored you on your path.
I think, yeah, Peter McKinnon is definitely high up on that list.
Okay.
Then MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee.
Oh, of course.
And
yeah.
also, I think this is a nice thing about like content creation is that you can take inspiration from people you've never met. Okay?
That's good. I love it. Yeah. Because you can see their
then
work.
There's, yeah.
Yeah.
Then maybe one final person I'd say I take inspiration from. I think God deserves a shout.
He does.
In the way I'm working right now.
Yeah, that's
God
good.
definitely deserves like a shout out in terms of inspiration. Yeah, Peter McKinnon, he's told great stories in his photos.
Yeah.
He's someone who will chase an idea and make it work.
Yeah.
MKBHD, he does above and beyond. Like, he will have a camera that can record in 12K when YouTube
doesn't support it.
Doesn't even watch in 1080p, So he just wants to put out quality that matches him.
That's so
above
good.
And beyond. And then with God, he
what is beyond above?
We can't even understand, and he will create so that someone can benefit, and he needs nothing in return. He just gives and he gives and he gives.
Wow. So I love this. In your opinion, what's the most important personality strength or trait does one need to have to work well in your industry or to succeed as a storyteller, as a content creator, as a photographer?
Believe in yourself. Definitely believing in yourself. You come across a lot of people who will make it seem like what you're doing has no value.
Yeah.
Or it's not that hard.
Yeah.
But you definitely have to believe in yourself, believe in your craft.
Yeah.
Know what you're doing it for.
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely, when I started off, or maybe not even when I started off, I've grown up as someone who's believed in himself in all that he's done. I'm very fortunate that I grew up like that. And it's allowed me to express myself and get to where I am. But not everyone has that luxury, but you have to try. Block out the noise, block out all the negative feedback. If you have to take in the feedback, but flip it around to see what you can use that to push yourself forward, and believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. I love it. I love it. It sounds like confidence, doesn't it? Confidence, eh?
Definitely. Confidence takes you far.
It does. It does. I have a slogan here. It's my mission really is to help creators create with clarity, with confidence, and with competence, using Christ's method. So I really value and connect with the idea of confidence, because really you can do nothing without confidence.
You can't. You honestly can't.
You rise to the level of your thoughts. You cannot rise higher than your thinking and your the perception of who you are, right? So if you consider
confidence, the confidence shows in the work that you put out,
Wow,
and
that's
how
good.
much you're willing.
That's good.
How much you're willing to back your photo, because I've taken pictures. I've taken pictures that are like basic picture. Okay, like it's not going to win any awards. If I post it on Instagram, it's not getting that many likes. But I will back this image so much.
Really?
Because I'm confident in what I've put into it. Oh, definitely. Like,
that's good.
If you follow my Instagram page for like the next few weeks or months, whenever I post an image, just take a moment to look at the quality of the picture
Okay.
Most of them won't be that great. Some will be amazing.
Okay.
But I'm confident in the story that the picture
Story.
has.
That's so
Confident
good.
in, yeah,
That's
and
so
I'm willing to
beautiful.
present it with confidence.
Yeah.
And that is what we'll take it from. So confidence is so important.
I love this. I love this so much. So now I'm curious, you know, and I'm sure the audience is. We've heard about this guy. He's a creator. Apparently now he's a storyteller. Like, can you show us your story? What have you created? So my next question is, what projects or you know, works are you most proud of that you've created? And tell us the story behind a picture you've taken. I don't know if you could share your screen and show us, or just whatever, and then tell us the story.
I have a few prints.
Oh, look at that.
And I
Thank
can
God for
show
prints.
you a few. So these prints were for like the proudest creation that I've had,
Wow,
which was a
proudest.
photography exhibition. Let me pick out one picture to show you. Yeah, I think this is one of like my favorite images, right?
Wow, I love it.
So this looks like an image of someone who was walking through a field and he was just, you know, exploring, taking pictures like he wants. But I was on a corporate shoot, okay? I was
with the
like,
government.
it was a professional with the municipality, okay?
That sounds like government to me.
And I had to take pictures for this corporate company.
Wow.
And I was still looking to create and take pictures that are my quality, and they, you know, they have a certain feel about them. So, you know, those are some of my prints. I have quite a few others on me.
So I'm curious, what's the story behind that picture?
Behind this one? Okay.
Yeah, what's the story?
So this picture, I had a friend who I had connected with on campus, and his brother basically ran a media company. Okay. So they needed to go and take pictures for a forestry company.
Okay.
For basically their pages and websites and like formal documentation. Mm-hmm. So they needed images of the trees. Okay. The line, like the trees properly lined up, the fruits, all of that stuff, the process, right? Yeah. The business side, like what's their product? That's
what they want.
The product, the trees was what I was hired for. The trees.
Whoa!
But what
look
does
at
CJ
that.
go and capture? He goes and
people.
Captures this woman. And this image right here is my mother's favorite image. She says it all the time. My mother loves this image, and she says it's because my mother grew up on the farm.
Oh yeah,
so she
can relate.
She resonates.
With
this
that's
a lot.
it.
And I love that she relates to this so much. So that's basically the story of this. Someone was hired for something, and he decides to do his own thing
because he wants to tell a different story.
He wants to tell a story. But I think that the proudest creation that I've had was a photography exhibition that I held last year with a few friends. Okay. It was many years in the making. Like, it was an idea that came and it would not leave me. And I was fortunate enough to have friends who were able to support me and were able to plan this and push this program to happen. And we're fortunate enough to get the local library, to present our stuff there. And then it was 3 days. So 2 days at a library, and then the third final day at a coffee shop. Yeah. And at the coffee shop, we were able to have music, food, all of that stuff. And it was so amazing to see so many different worlds of mine, my friends from church, varsity, school, all of those different worlds connecting, and basically me being able to create a community through art. And that's like the other thing that's been so big for me since that time, that my art needs to create a community. Like, we can't just enjoy this in isolation. We need to come together through whatever we make.
That's so good. And so speaking about community, are you open to, let's say, collaborations, partnerships with, let's say, other creators in the country or from elsewhere, from other countries?
Oh, big time. Like
Okay.
I love collaborating with people. I love working with people. Working with people is not the easiest thing, but I love it, because you get to experience a person who's so different, who does things so
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
And you learn so much and you make memories along the way. So yeah, I'm definitely open to collaboration.
That's so good. And so let's say somebody's interested and they want to, learn more about you or perhaps collaborate with you. What's the main point of contact? How do people reach you?
My main point of contact right now, I think, would be Instagram at
Instagram.
CJ Moyo.
Okay.
Then my secondary page being at cjmoyo.jpg. So those two pages basically run hand in hand.
Okay.
But yeah, anyone wants to collaborate, that's where they can get me.
Amazing. And if I'm not on Instagram, too bad.
If you're not on Instagram, you need to get Instagram so that you can go like my pictures. But there's also WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
And yeah, like I'm very open with sharing my number. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but
It depends.
yeah, my phone number, maybe I can add the country code as well. +27 61 432 0805. And then my email being cjmoyo.media@gmail.com.
Beautiful. So that's how you contact the man himself if you want to get involved in creating with him. I really love the work you are doing. It's really inspiring. And recently, I know this is getting longer than anticipated, but this is good. Maybe we should close here. But recently, you got involved with this community aspect of being a creator, and you created something interesting. And I want to hear more about that and what's your plan and how's it going. Humans of Adventism. How does that feature into all of this?
I feel like this is a perfect. Humans of Adventism sums me up perfectly.
Wow.
Remember I spoke to you about how I saw my worlds coming together and creating community.
Yes.
Humans of Adventism was the child of that idea of creating a community. So this is like the exhibition was this worldly thing that created community, but it came about at a time where I was finding myself with God, I was connecting with God.
So it really sums up everything. I am curious though, because I have the same, the same desire, and I'm very interested in Humans of Adventism and where it's going. I'm curious though, have you thought about, creating a community, not just of everybody, but specifically of creators, where these are creators who are passionate about creating, but of course in the context of God. I think that's something I've been wrestling with. And so I had an idea, and I'm not afraid to make this public. The idea was, I'm of the belief that, the gospel has to go viral, right? Or else Jesus is not coming again. And so, being bold in that, I said, okay, then how exactly are we going to spread the gospel? And I find in every area, in every church I go to, that what they really struggle with is that, network of people who are actively sharing the gospel. But then now the gospel is no longer about, telling your friend this or that. The gospel now has a technological twist to it now, because now for you to share the gospel, you have to be technologically available and technologically knowledgeable as well. And so I thought to myself, how do we do this? Well, how about we bring together a group of, Christian content creators together, specifically in my case, Seventh-day Adventist creatives, and bring them together. You have graphic designers, video editors, etc., etc., and then they work with churches to equip them on how to create, content that is not just content, but that tells a story that people can relate to, that the community, feels like this is for us, and not just a sermon that doesn't tell a story, right? So, anyways, there's all these aspects, and so I'm surprised I never ran this idea by you, because I think after talking to you, I'm like, this will be the perfect, candidate for being part of this project. So it's called This Gospel Must Go Viral. And the goal is to create that synergy of SDA creatives. So I'm glad we had this conversation. I will see how that goes. But what are your thoughts on that?
I love the idea of that. This thing of creating a community of creatives. I had the idea, but in a worldly sense, before the exhibition.
I see.
Because a few friends of mine were working on something, and we're like, it's nice, because then we can, if someone needs something, there's already someone who has equipment available, or we have our network. So it is a great idea, and I honestly feel like you should run with this idea.
Okay.
And the beauty of Humans of Adventism is that it's helped us connect across the world. Like, you're so far away, but this is something that can happen in Canada at the same time as it's happening in South Africa, in Zoom as well. So it can happen in so many places, and we can connect and push God's word together, constantly following up on each other and saying, hey,
how's it
have
going?
you seen what's happening? What's the trends on your side? What's working in your place that we can bring to mine? What do I have that I can bring to you? So I love the idea of having like a creatives community.
Okay.
Because we need each other a lot, we can really bounce off each other. If I've learned anything in this meeting alone, is that there's a lot of us who are on the same mindset.
Oh yeah.
Then we just need to connect.
That's it. Connect. Create, connect. So community. I love this. I love this. All right. So before we bore people to death, maybe we should wrap up here. I think this was great. I have, gotten to know you more, and I'm sure the audience has. I hope you guys learned a lot from our conversation. And of course, if you want to follow him, what's the handle again? At CJ
Moyo.
At CJ Moyo. That's Instagram.
CJ Moyo on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
No, it's CJ Moyo on Instagram. Wow, there's a lot of handles to share with you.
Can we handle them all? Can we handle all?
Right, let's try this. Okay, so we have CJ Moyo on Instagram.
Okay.
We have CJ Moyo _ on TikTok.
Wow.
The devotions page on TikTok is peace.perfectpeace.
Wow. Peace.
The other page on Instagram is humansofadventism.africa. And I think, those 4. I just give those 4. Once people follow that one, I'll share the rest with them.
Amazing. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us. And of course, thank you, CJ, for being here. It's an honor to have you on this podcast, and thank you for making yourself available.
Thank you for the invite, man. It's been an honor on my side, featured here, and I can't express enough how I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
The feeling is mutual. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for us to have another conversation. Perhaps we'll be talking about some new stories that have been created and how they're making impact in people's lives. So thank you ever so much. And you guys keep being awesome. Keep on creating, because remember, we're all created to create. And we can never be fulfilled or satisfied if we do not create and if we don't tell a story. Everybody has a story. You have a story to share. And the world is waiting for you to go out there and tell the story. So may God be with you all as you tell your stories. Do we end with an amen? Or record
definitely an amen.
Or record another outro? Amen.